and we are about to be live on the show. We are currently live. Welcome to the show, everyone. It is so wonderful having you all here to discuss a really important topic that is very close to my heart. It's what's going on in Hong Kong at the moment. And I think that we need to talk about this. We need to be cognizant of what's going on for a variety of different reasons, whether it's just because of the speech suppression that's going on there, whether it's because of this transition financially of what's going on. I just think that Hong Kong is a really important place in the world right now, and I just like fighting the surveillance state. Everyone knows who's been watching my channel is a really important issue to me. So I've been following very closely what's been going on, but I'm really delighted to welcome onto the show today Christina from the Hong Kong Blockchain Association. Is it the Blockchain Association or the Bitcoin Association?
It's the Bitcoin Association.
Bitcoin Association. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I wanted to chat with you in particular about something that's going on, and Christina's going to stay, her video is going to stay off just for anyone who is wondering for obvious reasons. So I wanted to chat in particular about what's happened in the last 24 hours. So Christina, you've been tweeting about this event that happened where 70 million Hong Kong dollars has been seized by the police in the last 24 hours. That was a fund for the protesters. That was money that was meant to be going towards, you know, medical bills and legal fees and resources for the protesters. This has been seized by police, which really is, I mean, we've seen this in the past, bank accounts being shut down, money being frozen, transactions being frozen, and really it's an example of suppression of freedom of speech. So tell me what's happened, and just kind of go in and elaborate a little bit for us.
Sure. Well, I found out about this because I've been remotely helping a lot of the protesters understand Bitcoin better in the last 3 to 4 weeks. And you know, a lot of how people get suppressed in terms of, you know, movement is by getting their funds frozen, very much like WikiLeaks back in 2011.
Exactly. Yeah.
They didn't want, yeah. And so we see the same thing repeat again, you know, like history kind of rhymes or repeats in a way. And this is a lot of money. I mean, it's almost 10 million US dollars. That's quite a large sum. And, you know, and they accuse the people who are actually doing it for money laundering and doing illicit behavior, but that's sort of like a tagline of saying, we don't want you guys to protest anymore in many ways. And I'm sure that the funds are getting redirected in other areas, not just for protesters, but like you're saying, medical expenses, legal expenses, other things to support all these people. But again, it shows that, you know, you can't really trust when you put your money in a bank because the bank can just seize it. Right.
And I think that, I mean, this is a bit of a wake-up call for a lot of people, because generally, I mean, a lot of people have grown up with bank accounts. We've come to kind of trust this system where we put our money in and we can take our money out again, because we've never really run into any issues. For most people, there are no issues. They will go through their entire lives thinking, well, financial system doesn't seem so bad. But really, what we're realizing more and more, and we've become more cognizant of this as we see different governments around the world abuse this kind of centralized financial system, we're realizing that this is a system based on permission, where you put your money in and you no longer have control of that money, and you need permission to access it, to use it. And I think that for especially the people in Hong Kong, the fact that their money was in this bank account, because where else are you meant to put it? Do you put $10 million under your mattress? I mean, do you have the security to safeguard that money? It's like a huge issue. And so it was in a bank account because that's when more normal people put their money. And now they're realizing that, well, when you trust a third party, that's a danger zone, because you know, it's like you that money could be taken at any time. You look at what happened in Cyprus, you look at what happened in Poland. You know, people wake up and a portion of the bank account just goes missing. Now, like in America, because crypto, marijuana, guns, coal, there are all these industries that are deemed like high risk industries. You've had bank accounts just shut down across the board. And in Hong Kong, it's devastating to see this fund for protesters now being seized.
Yeah, and you know, I think one of the issues is also getting people to go through this paradigm shift of thinking about money differently, because you know, a lot of people say, why can't I just give you guys cash if I support your cause? And like, what are you gonna do? Put it in a box and save it under your mattress? I mean, that's not really a secure way of saving your money. And at the same time, people don't understand anything other than cash because, you know, in a place like Hong Kong, there's a lot of cash-based economies. A lot of shops still only take cash. They don't, you know, take credit cards or, you know, debit cards as much. And so like the movement away to something different, like let's say Bitcoin or Monero, is something that people are still just on the edge, I feel, of learning about. There's like a lot of misunderstanding. It's kind of slow right now in terms of actually using it for the protest or funding. I mean, there's been a drive to fund it, but it's pretty slow compared to
sure.
before.
And I wanted to talk about that sort of difference in culture. So like in China, we hear about everyone using electronic money. This is second nature. Everyone's using WeChat. You just don't have access to cash in mainland China. And then Hong Kong is sort of the opposite of that. Hong Kong is this place where everyone uses cash. A lot of businesses don't accept credit cards. Hardly anyone has a credit card. Some people are using debit cards, but really cash is king. And on the one hand, I think that's great. I love cash. I think more people should be using cash. It actually bothers me when I'm frequently going into stores these days and they're saying, oh, we don't accept cash, because it means that they're forcing me to use this traditional financial infrastructure to give away my data, to let people track my purchases. Like, I'm just very hesitant to buy into that system and support that system. But on the other side of things, it means that the people who are only cash are one step further removed from the new technology we have these days that can allow you to make purchases online without having your identity tracked. So in Hong Kong, I feel like I haven't seen much crypto adoption, and I would love to see more of it, but it is a big jump for people to move from cash to using cryptocurrency.
Well, it depends on, I think, who, because like there are a lot of exchanges, you know, Hong Kong has had a lot of crypto exchanges. A lot of the really big players have been there for a while, like for example, Bitfinex, I think before. And it's like a separate world from like the average person who might want to donate to a protest fund, for example. And there is a bit more of a pickup in terms of people are trying to get the word out, but you know, there's a lot more AML KYC. And, you know, once that's tied to whatever Bitcoin you purchase, that sort of destroys the pseudo anonymity layer of protection. And that, in addition, is something I think a lot of people still don't really think about too much. So we have a ways to go. I mean, I'm hoping that this confiscation will wake up more people to realize what, you know, the government is doing and start looking at other alternatives, basically.
Absolutely. And what I've seen in Hong Kong, for me, it's at the same time devastating, absolutely heartbreaking, but also inspiring, because you're seeing this system that has been this very open free market system, sort of the miracle of the world for the past few decades. And then you're just seeing things start to shut down. Some of that free market essence starts to be stripped away, people losing their freedoms, surveillance towers being put up, people having their lives tracked. And then you see the people start to rise up. And that's what's inspirational, because I'm seeing freedoms being stripped all over the world. And if you just take America or Australia, like in Australia, you've got this surveillance state where the internet is completely surveilled, where there's cash bans, where there are raids on the media, there are journalists being put in jail for covering things that soldiers are doing during the Afghanistan war. I mean, it's craziness, but you don't see the population rising up and saying enough is enough. We're not going to support our freedoms being stripped. But in Hong Kong, there's such, I mean, the culture has very much been one of freedom. As you said, there's this cash culture where people are very cognizant of not having their finances tied electronically. And so there's this very different reaction, and people want to fight what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of months if things shift. And one of the things that people, I understand, have been asking for are more international overseas donations going to the people who are protesting, because it sounds like this is not the first major bank account that's been confiscated. I get the sense from just the chatter that there's been a lot others. And so, you know, first they seize your money, then they seize maybe your freedom of speech. Like, who knows? Maybe the next move by the government might be to like start censoring the internet.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, that's like silencing what people are reporting on, and I think that's a valid concern to be watching out for. Like, we don't know what could happen next. But you know, we're looking at people who are pretty much at the edge of fighting for, you know, their last chance to say, hey, you know, we want the freedom of speech here to continue as was been promised, you know, and also the ability to conduct, you know, the way of life that we had before.
Yeah, no, it's really inspiring, as I said, to see people rising up, but they're going through a hell of a time right now. You have face masks being banned at the protests. That means that, you know, people's identities are being tracked. There are surveillance cameras around. I've seen footage of surveillance towers being just cut down by people. I've seen footage of, you know, you go to the metro station and you have people just leaving out cash to enable people to be able to travel freely without having their identity tied to their location, without having to use cards that electronically, you know, that connect to their bank accounts, for example, which connects to their identity. So there are all these ways that people are fighting against what's going on. And as you said, I don't know what's going to go on, what's going to happen there, but it is really inspiring to watch this. And it's also devastating. And one thing that goes through my mind when I see things like this happen, I immediately think, oh gosh, you know, if we can get money into the country, we could help these people. You know, if that $10 million was in cryptocurrency, it wouldn't have been seized, for example. And it's very easy to send crypto donations, but it's also hard to break through the noise and figure out, like, so I don't know anyone in Hong Kong. How do I know what's a legitimate cause to send money to? How do I know that they're not a scammer? And you're someone who has a lot of connections there. So I'm going to try and, from you, I'm going to get some links afterwards of places that maybe people can send donations to if they want to support what's going on. And I'll post them in the video description in case you're looking for something that is like a reliable source from someone who is there. Or who knows people there, for example. But it is like, I hope that, as you said, this is a wake-up call for people there, that they realize that crypto could really be their ally. We haven't seen a huge uptick in usage, and if there has been an uptick, it hasn't been that public. But I'm hoping that maybe this will wake people up to the fact that they can't trust the traditional financial system anymore, one where they need permission. And maybe Bitcoin, that they could start to recognize that cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are a superior way of maintaining their freedom.
Absolutely. I think like us getting the word out is like the most important thing right now, and also getting it to the right people. And Naomi, I certainly hope that, you know, your publicity will help people out there, because, you know, I'm getting requests every day from people, explain this to me, you know, how does this work? You know, why is my transaction like this? Or, you know, what does it mean when my address looks like that? Stuff like that, just basic things of Bitcoin. And, you know, that's what I do. You know, like, you know, the goal here is to educate people on how to use Bitcoin. And, you know, Bitcoin can be used for many different things. And I think, like, you know, in terms of protecting human rights, this is one of the ways to do it. It's not a perfect system. Yeah, there are many flaws, you know, and there's a lot of criticisms, but, you know, one thing we know is that you just can't be shut down by an intermediary. You know, like, if I'm going to transfer Bitcoin wallet to wallet, you know, with nobody in between, no KYC in between, no third party, this is the way it's meant to be used. And this is what the purpose is. And perhaps this is the sign of the times, you know. We're going to this era where there's just a lot of friction everywhere in the world. And, you know, this may be one of the ways to do it, you know, to say, you know, I'm going to, you know, use my dollars to vote, or I'm going to use my money to vote and say, this is what I believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the biggest things, like if I'm going to give advice to people there, especially if they're not familiar with cryptocurrency, and if they're, I mean, I've reached out to people in Hong Kong, and I've been told all these people are refusing to have interviews with me because they're worried for their safety. They're worried that they'll just disappear. And that's a real concern, people living there. And so cryptocurrency is a scary thing for them, because it's this opaque world. If you make one slip up, then your identity could be linked to what you're doing. People do have to be careful. This isn't just some flippant thing where we're like, use Bitcoin, it's going to fix everything. People have to be careful. They have to be using Tor. They have to be using a computer that they know hasn't been compromised. I mean, otherwise there are lots of ways that your identity could be linked to your transaction. So I will try to go through more of those very simple measures that people can be taking to safeguard their identity. People at the end of the day need to realize there is still a risk with using this. But if you learn about this, if you start to use it and get comfortable with it, you realize very quickly that it's a far superior system to going through the traditional financial infrastructure. And for some people, it's going to be a lifeline. For people who have lost access to their finances, who are looking to people overseas for donations, this could be the only way that they might receive money. So I think that it's in those people's best interest to start to get educated about the measures they need to be taking to safeguard their identity and their security, to up all of that. But it's important that people do this right, but it's also important that people start to get familiar with how all of this works.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And so, the work that the Hong Kong Bitcoin Association is doing, they're helping to educate people. You're helping to educate people. If you're watching this and you're in Hong Kong, feel free to DM me at any time. Ask any questions. I put out a bunch of videos for helping people maintain their privacy, little measures that you can take. It's a really hard thing to do, but it is doable. And there are some situations where, just implementing some basic security measures and privacy measures in your life is just going to drastically increase your privacy. So I'll keep explaining all of those. If anyone wants any help, let me know. As I said, there are going to be links in the description for causes you can donate to if you want to. And Christina, so I noticed from the articles there was $70 million that was 70 million Hong Kong dollars that was seized, but then there are also people put in jail. So how do we know what's going to happen to those people? Have we heard from those people?
I'm not on the front line, so I don't know, because I pretty much work with all these people remotely.
Yeah.
But what I've heard is, it might be like the Uyghurs, how China basically are prosecuting the Uyghurs or making them disappear or putting them in concentration camps. We don't know. And I think China doesn't want people to know about these things either. So, I can't say exactly, but, there's certain cases where people have been held in detention camps. I think there was a case of Simon. There's a British consulate guy who was detained. So it's a pretty touchy situation right now. It's a very dangerous situation. And, I think the more people know about it, the better off it is, so that we can help people out.
Absolutely. So I actually have another interview with Christina scheduled for the start of next year. Going to be updating people on this. Obviously going to be continuing to cover this in the meantime. I really think that what people in Hong Kong are doing, they're at the front lines of fighting the surveillance state right now. And I've been fascinated to see all of the techniques that people are using. And it's interesting because we look at China or we look at Hong Kong and we say, oh, these poor people, they're being surveilled, their lives are being turned upside down because of their every move is being watched. And we don't realize that this is something that's happening all over the world, but only some of the population of the world are waking up to it. And I think that the more we look at what's going on in Hong Kong, maybe we can learn from what's going on there. Maybe we can get smarter. Maybe we can start to protect ourselves. Maybe we can educate ourselves and educate others, because we can't just presume that we're going to be fine, our finances are going to be safe, all of that. I think people start to be more proactive. And although that seems very like preppery and paranoid and all of that, I do think that it is essential, and people need to wake up to that. So Christina, I'm going to let you go now. And I really appreciate you coming on, talking about this. And as I said, these are protest funds that have been seized. If people want to donate cryptocurrency, Christina is going to provide some addresses that you could send some funds to. I will put them in the video description below. And yeah, that's everything I wanted to cover today. Christina, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Naomi. It's been great.
Absolutely. So I'm going to let Christina go here, and there we go. So I'm going to stay on here for like 2 more seconds. If anyone has questions about what's going on, I'm really trying to keep up with everything that's going on in Hong Kong. If people have things that they want to talk me to cover. If you're from Hong Kong and there are things you want me to cover, just let me know, send me a DM or something like that. I just think it's so important that we keep watching what's going on in Hong Kong to learn from it, to help the people there. Hong Kong really has been the miracle of the last few decades, and to see what's going on there is really, really quite sad. I'm actually planning a trip to Hong Kong, so I will be able to report to you directly what's going on there, interview some people, and just see what's actually going on the front lines. I'm particularly interested in crypto adoption, because I think that that really will be a tool for freedom for people there. But as I said, there is a big gap that needs to be filled in terms of education and familiarity with this technology. People of Hong Kong up until now really haven't been using crypto much. I do know of some people who, you know, they realize the benefits of this and have started to educate others, but there's a long way to go. And if you guys are content creators, you know, maybe make some things that would be geared towards people in Hong Kong. You know, a lot of our videos that we make tend to be geared towards people who, yeah, we worry about surveillance, but we're not too worried about surveillance. You know, we're happy to set people up on Coinbase for their first account, for example. But maybe it would be helpful if the content creators could start to focus on, if we were to start people in Hong Kong from scratch using cryptocurrency, what advice would we give them? Would we say, okay, well, find a clean computer that hasn't been attached to any of your accounts or your identity? Would we educate them about Tor first? How do we get people involved with this when their lives are on the line? Because people are going missing in Hong Kong. It is a dangerous situation. People are refusing to do on-camera interviews because they're worried about their safety. So I just think that it's important to not be flippant about this, to be cognizant of the dangers involved when getting people involved with anything that has to interact with the digital world, knowing how compromised our digital devices are. So yeah, help people, make content that will help educate them, spread that content around, and let's see if we can help the people in Hong Kong regain access to their finances. All of you guys, oh, okay, I'm just reading the comments here. Jake says he does the Bitcoin top 10 videos each day. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. That's pretty awesome. Oh, I have my crypto. Sorry, I'm just looking at I have my crypto chocolate machine in the background. I was going to go and have a look. It's too far away. I can't even see. Give me 1 second. All right. Someone did send me, okay, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just gonna go and get my machine and bring it closer because someone sent me chocolate and I want it to activate on camera. 2 seconds, I'll be back. All right. I hope you guys were like just entertaining yourselves there for a little bit. So I've got my I've got my machine in the background there, and oh, actually, god damn it, before it had the green light out because I'm going to send it, but then I unplugged it and plugged it back in again, so it's actually disappeared. But whoever it was who sent crypto chocolate, I really appreciate that, because it's delicious. If there are any questions anyone has, then just let me know what they are. Christina, I'm going to post her Twitter link below. I did tag her in my Twitter. Let me pull that up. So it's Christina BAHK. So you can follow her. She's covering all of the Hong Kong stuff in detail, posting stuff on her page. And what's helpful is that she speaks Cantonese as well. So you know, she's posting articles that are all not in English, and she's helping to like translate those, let people know what's going on from these primary sources. So really, really helpful material that she's putting out there. And I'm going to post some links to some of that. And let me just see what else we've got here in the chat. Someone was saying, just be careful in Hong Kong. Absolutely. I'm absolutely. Someone's saying I'm not wearing pants. I'm wearing pants, guys. You're ridiculous. But I don't know. Because I've got like a little crop top here, so I just didn't want to have that on camera, and who knows, I just didn't want a shot of me like running away from camera and coming back again. Anyway, irrelevant. One of the things that I'm very interested in what's going on in Hong Kong, just as we wrap up here, is all of the surveillance avoidance techniques. So you've got masks being banned at the protests. And so people are doing other things. There are like these 3D projection masks, like holograms. There are like people braiding their hair across their faces. There are different like painting that you could do, which actually confuses the facial recognition cameras. Things like that I think are super interesting. And I don't think it's outside the realm of possibilities that these are things that, for example, people in America might want to start looking into. I know it sounds really paranoid and preppery and all of that, but honestly, Hong Kong has been the top of the economic freedom index for a really long time, and it's like the easiest place in the world to run a business. Everything is so efficient there. It's this very open system, and yet currently, there are riots in the streets. There are people going missing. There are people being thrown in jail. There are journalists being violently attacked, tortured. So things can change very easily. And I just think that it's better during a time of calm to just get aware and educated about resources around you, privacy tools around you. There are lots of them. We complain about the surveillance state, but at the end of the day, a lot of the onus is on the individual to be proactively taking measures to claim back their privacy. Other people aren't just going to do that for you. The government's not going to outlaw surveillance. They love surveillance. They live off surveillance. So I think that just educating yourself is super important, and all of that. All right. This is the end of my stream. I'm gonna send all of you lots of love. I'm gonna post the links in my video so people can donate to the people in Hong Kong. To whoever sent me the crypto chocolate earlier, you're the greatest in the world. But anyone who wants to send money to Hong Kong protesters in particular, you're the absolute greatest, and crypto is by far the best way to do that. So thank goodness for Satoshi Nakamoto. Thank goodness for cryptocurrency and the ability to transcend arbitrary national boundaries, send money overseas, and not be censored. To be able to freely do this is an absolute gift, and I am grateful for it every day. So all of you, have a wonderful day. It's coming up to the holidays. I'm probably going to have some exciting live streams geared up. I'm meeting with some people that I think you'll be very interested in over the holidays. So I'll see if I can get some fun behind the scenes type live streams. We'll drink eggnog and talk about cybersecurity and things like that. It's going to be pretty fun. But I'll keep you all posted. Go and have a wonderful day. Oh, thank you to everyone who's saying smash the likes. I really appreciate that. One person downvoted it. I think that maybe the Communist Party in China has been watching my video. They're not impressed at all with what we're doing, but I thank you to everyone who liked the video. If you wanted to share it, let people know what's going on, I appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, I would love you to subscribe. It really does help me, and it helps my channel a lot. All right. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you to the admins in the chat that I added who post things. It's great. All right, where's the end button? I never know where the end button is. All right. Bye, goodbye, goodbye. No, it's not Nan, just so you know, Justin. All right, bye.